And we will be seeing a lot more campaign visits to Georgia, including former President Trump and former President Bill Clinton, all in the week ahead. Plenty to talk about with our roundtable of political experts. Today, we have Democratic strategist Fred Hicks. He is the founder and president of the Hicks Evaluation Group, which has worked with hundreds of political campaigns for over 20 years. And Republican strategist and pollster Mark Rountree, also an expert on campaigns here in Georgia. He is the founder and president of Landmark Communications, based right here in Atlanta. And Mark, we're also learning you're a top influencer, according to Ballotpedia. And speaking of influencers, I want to throw the first question to you, Mark. A lot of influence from these campaigns. Bill Clinton coming to campaign in rural Georgia, parts of South Georgia, parts of East Georgia, counties where Trump previously won. Mm-hmm. Speaking of influence, could his influence change minds in those areas for them to vote for Harris?
I think it's actually fairly limited, the amount of impact he will have. It has been 20 years since the guy has been in office. People who are swing voters are going to be younger. They don't even know who Bill Clinton is, as strange as that may sound. And with older voters, they're very locked into voting Republican at this point in Georgia.
Well, Fred, we know that Clinton has had a history of doing very well in this retail politics. Don't you think that might play a role?
I think it actually could. So there are two things that play here. Number one, Democrats are trying to make the point to rural voters that you matter to the Democratic Party. That's not something that the state has done in a long time. And then the second thing, following on the heels of the Vice President and then Tim Walz going, now sending former President Clinton, who's from rural Arkansas, there also just gives them another touch. And we're just trying to shave off the damages, the losses down there a little bit. I think he can help with that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the state of the race right now. We are less than 4 weeks away from Election Day. This is the time when campaigns start doing some hard math and that electoral map starts to sometimes shrink down a little bit. I want both your takes on this. Mark, you first. Where does the race stand right now? And what is the path to victory for each of these campaigns?
There are 3 states that matter left: Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. And I don't have any idea why any of these candidates would go outside of those 3 states at this point. Trump has to win all 3. But if I had to give an edge right now, he wins them each by about a point or 2 at this stage of the game. Now, anything can happen over the next 3 weeks. But right now, outside of those 3 states, there's not enough votes to make an impact. Whoever wins those states wins. What
do you think, and Fred, we're going to get to you in a sec, but I just want to follow up here. Mark, what do you think gives the former president the edge right now in your analysis?
He has a propensity to hurt himself when he goes into sort of free-flow conversation with people. He goes off script. And I think he's being very on script since the debate. I mean, as much pain as he took for telling people that he wasn't going to debate again, it probably was a smart political move. And so at this point, the longer we get away from that debate, the more he continues to rise. And he really leads by about a point in all 3 of those states right now, with the exception of it could matter what happened with the hurricane in Pennsylvania. It depends on how bad that hurt Western Pennsylvania in terms of being able to even have a vote.
Western North Carolina.
What did I say? Western North Carolina?
Western North Carolina,
yeah. I meant Western North Carolina. How bad will that hurt?
Fred, your take on the map. Do you see it the same way here?
I agree that it's down to 3 or 4 states, but we disagree about the ones that are significant. I think that Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia are in play and significant still here. We saw in early polling earlier in the week that Michigan is actually now tilting towards President Trump, or former President Trump, by a point. And so to me, I actually think that when all it's all said and done, Wisconsin is going to be the state that makes the determination, or determines who's going to be the next president, with the other states doing what they're going to do. So it's going to be very interesting. But North Carolina is what it is. But I think that, to Mark's point, the candidates do need to concentrate or constrict their travel record or itinerary, but it needs to be those 4 states.
The other thing that's happening, just briefly, is the Senate seats are now beginning to really tighten. Ohio is now almost a dead heat. The Republican is a point down in Michigan. It is very close in these states, and it could end up with Republicans winning 54 U.S. Senate seats.
And if we could here, guys, just quick answers from both of you. We've been at the top of the ticket. Let's look down the ballot here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. What are the biggest races, the most likely races that you guys are looking at right now?
You go first.
Well, I tend to focus on local races, not legislative races. So I'm looking at what happens in Cobb County, a place where we're involved with the sheriff's race over there, and the chair's race. Then also what's happening down in Henry County. Okay. And then I'm looking at a few of the rural counties.
What about you, Mike?
The chairman's race of Fayette County, it's a 50-50 county at this point. the 2nd Commission District in Cobb County, and then in the Senate, there's only one competitive seat. That is Sean Still versus Ashwin Ramaswamy, and there's a handful of House seats in the Gwinnett and North Fulton area.
Well, so much more to talk about. We are out of time for today, but we know we'll have you back. Thank you guys so much.